Okay, people. So it's the 9th, right? It's that special birthday episode we put out every single year. And today I am joined by Edward Crawford. Edward, thank you so much for your time, man. Really appreciate it.
Kevin, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no worries, man. So you're an actor, producer, writer, director,
Oh,
media, like you've done a lot of things, man. You've done a
yeah.
lot of things,
Well,
and it all could have been different,
yeah.
right? How,
Yeah.
like, do you think to yourself, right, if things had gone the way of what they may have gone, how, like, all the other stuff that you have done, you may never have done that stuff, right? You may not be, you know what I mean, doing the things you're doing right now with the person you're with right now. Like so much of life that you have, all the blessings that you have right now, you may not have had, even though it might have seemed that that was the thing that you wanted back then.
I agree. I don't know who said it, but there is a saying that says sometimes the thing that did not work out worked out.
Mm,
And that's how I feel. If I never get fired from being the host of Cash Cab, then I don't make this movie.
yeah,
You know.
that's the thing. So yeah, but for people that don't know, you have a new film that has dropped today. It has dropped today, people. You can get it on all your favorite VODs. 60 miles north. 60 miles north. And it's
Yeah.
your featured directorial debut as well.
It is. It is. I wore many hats.
Mm.
To quote my favorite filmmaker, Edward Burns, people say to me, "You wrote it, directed it, acted in it, produced it. Like, why?" And I said, "I knew I'd show up because when you're shooting low budget, you you don't know if someone's good. You're only paying them very very little, and you don't know if they're going to show up. So." Um,
Well, yeah, and sometimes it's not even because they just can't be bothered, but maybe a great paying gig came
that's
and
right.
they can't turn it down, right? So, but there's so many reasons why things might slow down. So the more hats you technically take on,
Yeah.
the easier it technically could be for you.
Yeah, yeah, and I knew going into this, I wrote it for one reason, and that is so it could be a cathartic experience for me. I was hurting, man. I was in pain that I lost a gig of a lifetime, and then I got sick, and I thought, how can you go from having your own game show, hosting your own game show, living in New York City in a great apartment to moving back to my hometown right outside of New York, which is
Mm,
60 miles north of that's why we call it 60 miles north, the film. So I and living in my childhood, not even living in my childhood bedroom, because when I got home, my parents had rented out my childhood bedroom to somebody. So I was on the couch.
mm.
So I couldn't even get my childhood bedroom back at 31 years old. You know?
But okay, so the thing about the film, right? Because although it's essentially an autobiography, right? It's based on you, but you're not playing you, right? You're playing Clarence Moran.
Excuse me. Yes, I am playing me, but I did not want to use my my name, even though my middle name is Clarence, because I was born on Christmas Eve, so it's like It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
it's
Right, right,
Clarence
right.
here, and Moran or Moran. My mother's Irish, so that's her. maiden name, so I took that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Right. So
that's
there
yeah.
is DNA in it, essentially.
Yeah, and I don't know what exactly, and, like, I made 3 short films before this as part of what I would call my film school, and I named my lead character Clarence in every one of them. I don't know why. There's something going on there. Maybe that maybe we'll look and dive into that in the next film. I don't know. So,
Okay, so there's also in the film you don't get limes, right?
yeah,
But in real life you did. So
yeah.
with the film, how much is reality and how much has been tweaked or changed,
Yeah.
slightly shifted?
Yeah, well, yeah, the fictitious part of the film is the character that gets Lyme in the film, her name is Wild Fall, and that is essentially what happened to me, but I wrote it for a female character,
Mm,
and um, but what she experienced, not so much I went through. I was pretty lucky. I mean, they told me for a little while it was in my head, and I don't think you have Lyme disease because none of the tests were conclusive at first. But what I saw when I was getting treatment with other people were that women were treated differently than the men. Like I watched, and this is a line in the film, I watched a doctor tell a pretty young girl, "You don't have Lyme disease. You're too pretty." I mean, what? Yeah, get yourself a dog. And this girl, this woman did have Lyme disease,
mm.
but some of the tests are inconclusive, but ultimately I tested positive and I got the right treatment. So, yeah,
Okay. I mean, the crazy thing about that is, like, everyone knows the tests come up inconclusive,
yeah,
right? That's the crazy thing about Lyme's is that it so I think you're lucky if you get a conclusive test, right?
very,
So they know this, but there is still this weird hesitancy
yeah.
to actually go, okay, we believe you. Let's give you the medication. Let's look, let's investigate, let's try, which is crazy.
This is what I tell everybody because I've kind of dedicated my life to helping anyone. If anyone has a question about Lyme disease or any chronic illness, actually, I always say, especially dealing with Lyme disease, if it's the summer months and you're running a fever and you have a rash, you must demand the doctor. You can take my blood and wait for the blood test to come back, but please give me 30 days of doxycycline because you
Mm,
want to stop the bacteria in its tracks. You do not want it to enter your central nervous system because once that happens, you're dealing with an illness that mimics like syphilis, and it's horrifying, horrifying.
yeah.
So, yeah, you know,
Yeah, I
over
think that's
500,000 people are diagnosed annually, according to the CDC. You know,
mm,
uh, it's crazy. And where I grew up, 60 miles north of New York City in the Hudson Valley. It's the Lyme capital. You can
yeah.
wake up in the morning, you see 4 or 5 deer in your front yard because we have the Hudson River, the banks of the Hudson where the deer hang, and that's where the ticks come from.
Mm,
They're on the deer, you know.
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
I think that's the big thing. It's just like when ticks are around, and but there's still there's the hesitancy. I think this part of the film really resonated with me because man, for years I was just getting really ill and I had
yeah,
no clue. Had no so like for a while I just kept on thinking I kept on getting food poisoning, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And
right,
I was just getting like just joint pain and just headaches, and I went to the doctors and the doctor was just like, "Oh, why you're healthy, you're young, stop coming." Right?
yeah,
And I'm just like, "No, something isn't right." And
yeah,
it for years this went on. And then one time a new doctor, a locum was in, who then was just like, you know what, I'm gonna run some bloods. Ran some bloods, and then I got right away because these right. And that, like, it still wasn't over. There was still so, like, back and forth, test after test after test. And it's just like, you're telling people you're not, there's something wrong. You're not feeling well. But then you just have all these people going, no, no, I'm a doctor. I know what's right. And
Oh,
that's the nutty thing, all of this.
and the minute you try to
Yeah.
enlighten them because you've done your research and you know your body better than anyone, and you might say, "Hey, doc, have you looked? Have you gone down this path?" They get offensive. They get on the defense,
Hmm.
like defense, like what? Don't tell me how to do my job. You're an actor, you act. I'm a doctor, I doc. And I said, because my personally, what happened with me is I'm not a guy that runs to doctors. So when I got sick, I just thought, you know what? It's gonna pass. I probably got the flu, and it didn't. So when I
Yeah.
started to go to the doctor and they said, no, 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 you're fine. It's psychosomatic. It's in your head. I said, listen, doc. I said, you don't run fevers and sweat due to psychosomatic illness. And I said, and if it is psychosomatic illness, fix that. I'd be happy for it to be psychosomatic illness, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I had so many spinal taps, Kevin, that I've added that to my acting resume. I'm a spinal tap like expert. I've had so many, and that's where they found it in my, because the blood test I came back 2 bands positive, and that's a positive, but it was the spinal tap that was conclusive. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it's scary.
Mm.
That
Which,
bacteria
not
enters
a
the central
pleasant
nervous.
thing to have done.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. All of this. And, like, what was the impact?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? It
Oh,
broke up. I'm sorry about that, Kev.
no worries. I was just saying, yeah, what impact did that have on your career?
Well, it's a great question. Subsequently, what happened was it was so at the same time that's what made it so weird. So I get fired from Cash Cab, and then I'm not feeling well. You would think he's probably depressed,
Mm.
and I said I'm not depressed. I'm up every day in the gym. I'm up every night having a pint, and I said I'm not. I'm socializing. I said, but my legs are numb, and I'm running fevers, and so to answer your question, one, nobody in the industry wanted to see me after Cash Cab because ultimately I lied. When they asked me if I ever had a DUI, because Cash Cab, as we know, was a
Mm.
driving show, and they needed to get the first 9 episodes in the can. So they, in good faith, sent the background check to vet me, and they thought, you know, we have faith you're a good guy, so we're just going to start the process. You're our man. Let's go. And I thought the DUI is not going to show up. It's 10 years ago.
Mm.
It showed up. So the industry wanted nothing to do with me, and I was too starting to get too ill to even audition. So what I really did was go back home with my tail between my legs. I was angry. I was pointing fingers, blaming everybody. And until I met one of my heroes, a filmmaker by the name of Edward Burns, who did like the Brothers McMullen, and he says to me, you need to start like making films. You're gonna go crazy if you don't, do the right thing and like and start writing." So I made 3 short films, and they all had a subject matter of being ill, and then I decided to write my feature because even though I was getting a little After about 10 years, the industry embraced me again. I started to get minor roles on TV shows, like Blue Bloods. I was the guy that would go up to the Sarge and say, "Hey, Sarge, the toilets are clogged." You know, I was that guy on the show. So people started to cast
Mm.
me again, but I knew that I was never going to find peace unless I made a film based on both these experiences. So ultimately, that's what this is. It's my love letter saying goodbye to both. I'm finished with you, Lyme disease, and I'm finished with you, cash cab. Goodbye. I don't want to bring it up ever again. And now the world knows, and that has brought a profound sense of peace to me. So I'm not angry anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think one thing that was interesting about this was the fact that there was no sugarcoating Clarence, right? Like you looked at Clarence and you were just like, this dude is so pissed at everyone other than himself, right? This is crazy. Like he reaped it was what you did.
Yeah.
But there was no, oh yeah, no, this was me. You know, it's blaming the family, it's blaming the girlfriend, the friend, there's all of these people, which was, yeah, you know, crazy things. People
Yeah.
will paint it that, oh, it wasn't that bad, right? So
Yeah.
I respected the fact that you kind of were just like, nah, it was this kind of nuts.
I blamed everyone from the person that was in the car with me when I got the DUI in front of my elementary school. Why didn't you drive? Why did I drive? I blamed my parents for raising me 60 miles north of the city, which is the murder capital of New York State, called Newburgh, New York. To me, it's a beautiful city, and there's so many great people there. But it's had its problems. So I blamed the town. I blamed my parents for bringing me out of the city and moving up there. I blamed that our winters were too harsh. Anyone that I could point a finger at, I pointed that that's the reason why my life is not working out and I got fired. And it wasn't until I decided after I got done pointing five fingers, I turned them all around and
Mm.
pointed at me. So, maybe I'm the problem, you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how long was that process, would you say?
Embarrassingly, that process was 10 years. I mean, it got to a point where my friends were never sick of me talking about Lyme disease because they saw what I went through. I had a port in my chest. I had to do hyperbaric oxygen therapy because I was so ill. It got so deep into my central nervous system. But they did get sick of me talking about cash cab. They would tell me, move the fuck
Mm.
on, move on. And I couldn't because I was 31 years old when I booked it. My life had changed. I beat out thousands of actors, hosts, and comedians. Something to be very proud of. And it got taken away from me. That's what I used to say. It didn't get taken away from me.
Yeah.
I took it away from myself.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
you know, we have
And that,
there are repercussions for our actions, and that's another message I want to send through this film, Kevin, is that you can make a mistake and people will give you a second chance, but you have to be
oh
ready
yeah.
for that second chance and admit that you were wrong making the mistake. You know,
Mm. Yeah, I know. This is some of the things you're just like, oh, but I didn't kill anyone. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, but you could have. You could
I
have. You could have killed yourself. You could have killed
I
a friend. Like,
That's right. I go into the local bar. My buddy Leachus is bartending. LT is bartending, and he's like, "I heard about your DUI," and I go, "Yeah, well, I didn't kill nobody." And he's thinking, "Yeah, great justification." You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, yeah, you didn't kill anyone, you didn't crash, but you still got a
mm,
DUI. So yeah,
yeah. But I mean, the aim was always to be an actor, right?
yeah. I was in high school at Newburgh Free Academy. It's a very large school. And the you have to take an elective, and the electives my junior year was drama or art, and I can't even draw a stick figure, so I took drama, and we did this play, that an original play that we wrote, the class, and my teacher, his name was Dominic Maffa. He just pulled me aside and he said, you're interesting to watch. You should think about this. And I thought, no, 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 because I was a big baseball player in high school, and I said, no, no, I'm going to play shortstop for the New York Yankees. I had no idea that a guy named Derek Jeter was going to get in the way, But so I moved to the city. Yeah. I moved to the city right after high school, and I was I was playing baseball for Hunter College, uh, and they wouldn't start me, so I got angry and I walked into the hallway with my cleats on, and the cleats were banging on the floor like, and the professor turns to me and he says, "Son, you can't walk in the hallway with your cleats. Please take them off." So I bent down to untie and take them off. And when I bent down, there was like a job board at my eye level, and it said auditions, barefoot in the park. So I went and I auditioned and I booked the lead.
Uh-huh.
And then I got my first agent through that.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's how it happened. And that's what I wanted to do.
Oh
I
man.
got bit by the bug, and I knew this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life.
Mm. So when you got Cash Cab, what did you think that was gonna do for you? Because when you look at the people that a lot of times host a show, that's all they do,
Right? Um, I said to my agent,
right?
What
Because
is?"
they have to do, they're constantly churning this thing out. So,
Yeah.
oh man, the internet is yeah, going
Yeah.
crazy. But
A
all
little
right,
bit.
yeah, you said to your agent,
I said to him, I said, "What is this for?" And he said, "It's the host of a game show." And I said, "No, no, no, no. I don't want to be a host of a game. I want to be a movie star." And he said, "Well, that's not working out at the moment. So let's go for this. They like you." And when I got it, it was 2005. It was the beginning of reality TV. Even though game shows had been around forever, the cable networks like Discovery were starting to put out these game shows. Cash Cab originated in London. I forget the man's name, but that's where the idea came from. And then Lion Television out of France,
uh,
I believe, they brought it to New York. And I didn't think it would nothing. I got the call when I was on the train, taking the train from my hometown to the city, 60 miles south into the city, and I got the call that I got it, and I thought, this is crazy. And I went for my physical, and I started to prepare, and I had no idea that the show would get that big, but I wasn't a part of it at the point. When it got big, they had replaced me with, Ben Bailey, who's fantastic, you know. But yeah, so I had no idea what was
mm,
going to happen, how big it would be. But the bigger it got, the more angry I got because that's
yeah,
me. That was supposed to be me. So my father fell in love with the show, and he'd watch it, and I would say, "Dad, turn that shit off." And I was like, "Dad, how can you?" He's like, "It's a great concept," and I'm thinking, "Oh Jesus." And then I had them breathing down my neck, my folks, to get it. I come from a railroad family, and they they were breathing down my throat, "Get on the railroad, get on the railroad." And because I was not going to give up on my dream, I was not going to give up on my dream. I I never took that job, even though I might not even have got it due to my DUI. Who knows? I mean, but I just kept fighting, and I think there's something special about a 50-year-old or someone in their 40s who makes it. Everyone hears about the 25-year-old and the 30-year-old, and that's great. But when you make it at 50, not saying I've made it with this film, but it is the closest I've got to the feeling of how it was with Cash Cab. It feels so much better now because I have all the wisdom and experience of life behind me. You know,
Well, and probably because struggle, right? It didn't come easy. So then you appreciate anger and things come, you don't always appreciate them. You don't appreciate the struggle,
no,
the grind that went into that thing.
no. I'll never forget the night that I got the call that I was fired. Or not fired yet, but I was on the Upper West Side, sitting at a bar with some people. My life was changing, and
Mm,
the producer of the show called and said, "Tell me this is not true." And I said, "What?" And he said, "You got a DUI." And I said, "Yeah, that's a long time ago." He said, "It's a fucking driving show, bro. You have to have a clean license. Be here tomorrow, and we're gonna talk." And that's when I was fired. But when I booked it, I was happy, but it was like playing the lotto. You go and there's 1,000 other guys like you, and
mm.
I just happened to win it. I call it the original American Idol in a weird way. I just hit the lotto. Whereas this film, it's not no hit, no lotto. I wore so many hats. This was a labor of love that I busted my ass on, and I couldn't be prouder. It's a thing that I'm most proud of, and I can't wait for people to see it because I think the Lyme community is they're gonna understand how I captured how isolating it is to have a chronic illness, and the game show community or just people who have dreams are gonna see. Don't give up. If you're 25, 35, 45, 55, do not give up because it can happen. Listen, this is a feature film with no names in it. No names in it. Unheard of to get distribution. But I did. And it can happen again. Lightning, you can catch lightning in a bottle twice. I'm proof. So,
Mm. Well, yeah, I think you just have to, as you say, don't give up, right? Always keep that focus on the thing, right? Like, because I think sometimes, one opportunity might go, but it's about keeping yourself ready to seize the next one.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
a people opportunity. There's one of all of these things, but I don't believe that's true, right? I think there are multiples, but it's just whether you are ready and able to see them and grasp them when they come by you. And I think that's the big thing, being ready for this. And this time around, you were ready.
I was ready. Who said that? Oprah said, I forget if it was Oprah or Woody Allen. I don't remember. One of them said, um, preparation. I can't remember the quote, but it's basically keep preparing your whole life for that moment, because when it comes, if you're not prepared and ready, it's gonna implode,
Yeah.
or you're not just gonna appreciate it the way you should.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So what was the process like for writing this film?
So I was working in a restaurant in Hell's Kitchen. Very good friend of mine, Peter Rabasco, owns these restaurants in New York, and he hired me because I lived across the street, and he hired me to open the restaurant at 7 in the morning and receive all food. And in New York City, they bring,
Oh,
I'm sure
okay.
you know
Yeah.
this, they bring the food downstairs. So I was the guy that took them.
Mm.
Anyway, while working there, it was the most easy job. I would just pound away at the computer. And I'll never forget, he walked in, Peter, one time, and he goes, joking around, he goes, "Let's go, Shakespeare. We got to work. What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm writing a screenplay." And um, he, because he saw it from its conception. And now he jumped on as a producer. His brother, who has Paul Nicholas, passed away from MS. So we have a couple people involved. He did the music for the film. So a couple people that are involved have illnesses, and that's what I wanted to do, was get people that are struggling but still get out of bed and work. And so the process of writing
Mm.
was very, 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 very painful. It brought me back, and shooting it was even more painful. You know.
Yeah, I can imagine having to relive that situation, and not so much reliving the thing of, oh, I didn't get it, but it's the having to be like, I did that. Like, like that. Ah, shit. So, hmm. God
Yeah,
damn, the
it's a little,
internet is all right. Yeah, yeah, it's not being good to us,
no,
but we're getting there. We're
we're
getting
getting
there.
there, and
It's
that's all that
still
matters. That's right. So,
oh man, like how many drafts did you go through with this?
9 drafts. I mean, I just, I I would write 5 pages a day. That was my goal, and maybe I would use 1. And I always tell guys that want to write a screenplay, they go, "Oh man, whatever I write is shite. It sucks." And I go, "But if you write 5 pages a day, yeah, 4 pages might be shit, but that half a page is going to be gold." And keep building on that.
Mm,
But I just kept tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it. I think I had 5 different titles before we got to 60 Miles North, at the recommendation of my mentor and very good friend, the director, Deborah Granick. You guys probably know her. She did Winter's Bone. She directed. She was up for an Oscar. She is She's she moderated all my Q&As in the festivals. She's been an integral part of my life, and she's the one who said, "Why don't you call it 60 Miles North?" And I did, so yeah. Which was my email subsequently. Like, it was my email anyway that I had for years. So,
title
yeah, it worked out. So,
three, the character of Wild, right?
yeah.
What was that inception like? When you're creating this, when did you realize, okay, I can't be the person with the limes as well. I need to create
Yeah.
this other character, this other person.
Well, the film starts with Clarence losing the gig, blah blah blah, and then I knew, all right, when he gets home, what are we gonna do? He's gonna get sick with Lyme, and now we're just gonna have 90 minutes of just Clarence, just oh God, I lose the gig, I'm sick. I just it wasn't gonna work. I needed him to meet someone who was in as much, if not more, pain than him to distract him,
Mm.
to distract each other. They create a friendship. They heal off of each other and in unique ways. They no one believes Wild. She's due to the Lyme disease in her central nervous system. It has induced agoraphobia, so she can't
Yeah.
get out of the backyard. And my parents have sold the house, so in 30 days they're going down south. And Wild and me, we don't know where we're going, and we're sick. I'm mentally ill from losing the gig. I'm losing my mind, and she's physically ill. So
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's and I would work with Audrey Kovár, who's the who plays Wild Falls, newcomer, and she got it. She just had the right kind of she understood. I don't know her background and if she's ever dealt with any kind of chronic or mental illness, but she nails it. I couldn't be more happier.
Mm. So was it always a female character? Or did you toy with it being another guy, a kid maybe,
No, I knew it was gonna be a female character because I wanted to give them that voice. Because, like I said before, when I would go to the Hamptons to do hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and we would sit in a multi-chamber and play Uno while we took these dives in this treatment, and we were getting, like, group therapy in a weird way, and I noticed that the females in the group were not getting the same attention as the male. Like if I complained, I was listened to. If they complained, it almost seemed like, I mean,
Mm.
this doctor tells this girl, listen, stay off the internet, stop diagnosing yourself, go get a puppy. And when we were leaving that day, the lady at the front desk says to the girl, uh, your copay. And the girl turns around and says, you can tell the doctor I'm gonna take the money from my copay and go buy a puppy. So it was, you know, um, and I just saw, yeah, no, I knew I wanted to be a woman. I did.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it definitely works,
Yeah.
right? It creates this different situation. And yeah, Audrey does a great job with that role because I think you believe her
Yeah.
and she has to kind of give you those tangibles, right? Because it's an internal pain, it's an internal struggle,
Yeah.
and she sells it thing to us.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw her at the audition, I went outside to call the next actor to come in, and she was just sitting there, and I think she might have been wearing 2 different socks. I don't remember, but there was something dark about her in a good way, if that makes sense. I'm not insulting
Mm.
her. She just had a darkness, and I don't know. I didn't. Maybe she was just because she knows the character, so maybe she was just, she was in character, which I think that was probably the case. But yeah, she has this ability to encompass like
Oh boy. Oh man, people, this
It
internet
happened.
thing is going.
Listen, what are we gonna do? You know, but hey, listen, we're gonna be different than everybody else, so that's good, right? Like, you know.
What was the casting process like? How easy was it to find these characters?
Well, being in the business, because at the time when I shot the movie, I was probably in the business over 20 years, and I had a lot of favors. One of my favorite movies, or my favorite movie, is The Brothers McMullen. Um, and I knew through Ed Burns' stories that Jack Mulcahy, who was in The Brothers McMullen, plays softball in the SAG League. So I joined the league, and I chased him down to ask him if he would play my father in my film, and yeah, he did. So that was probably the most challenging part of the process. Otherwise, I got a million favors from all my friends. Marsha Deaton Bennett, who's a fantastic, she came down to work. Danny Doherty, fantastic actor. So it was pretty easy. And the newcomers that we found, I found them. I found them when we had an open call, but also with the one girl that plays Chloe, I found just I went to a bar to get some chicken wings, and waited on me, and she is not from America, but I said, "Can you do an American accent?" And her American accent was better than mine. So we can't. I found her just waiting tables in New York. You know. Yeah. Yes. Did I lose you?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, there you are. There you are.
uh,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. No, I was just saying, how did Jack come on as a co-director?
Well, you know, when you're acting and directing, it's hard. So you need someone to watch, and it's got to be more than the DP. My DP was Patrick Green, fascinating, fantastic DP. So I had his eye watching, but I mean, let's face it, Jack Mulcahy is a veteran. So I asked him
Mm.
if he would, and thankfully enough, he came on. He came on. Yeah, he had some great ideas, and I'm very grateful for that.
Hmm. Which is great. Which is great. I
Yeah,
think everyone loves that comeback story. Oh my
yeah.
god. Oh, man, today.
No, don't worry about it. Listen, this is the first podcast that I'm doing, and I'm just so happy to be on. Whatever we get out of it, we get out of it, right?
Yeah, no, I think there's plenty here for people, right? And
Yeah,
it's all about getting that insight into what you've done, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's getting across that story, and I think you've done a great job of that.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
Hey, no worries at all, man. Yeah, so the movie is out today, right? The 9th of
Today,
July.
yes, and you can get it on Amazon, Fandango at Home, Vudu, and some other cable outlets.
fantastic.
All right.
People keep track of, everything that you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. They can follow me at 60 Miles North on Instagram if they want for more updates. I'm getting ready to cast another film. So, you know, um, yeah, that's it, Yeah.
Okay, so if people see you out and about, make a good impression. Like you might be able to win a part in a new role
You
in
never
a new
know.
film you do.
You never know. You never know. You got to stay positive and you got to keep working and fighting for your dreams and never give up. That's on the poster. Never give up.
Oh, for sure. I think you demonstrated that, right? That
Yeah.
you know what I mean. You got down, right? But
Yeah.
you got past it, right? And I think something bad happened, pick themselves up straight away, and then they're working to something, but right. And what this does is show people that it doesn't matter, right? You can still turn it around,
Ken.
right? Even if it's a year, a month, 10 years, you can turn it around and achieve your goals. And
Yeah.
that's what you did. So
Yeah.
congratulations, man.
Thank you, Kevin. That means the world to me, man.
No worries at all. So people, go check out 60 Miles North. Go check out Edward on the socials. And we will keep our ears to the ground for the next.
Thank
And
you, Kev.
no worries. When the next project is ready, please stop by and we Wi-Fi.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, man.
Okay, Kev. Thank
All the
you.
best.
Take
Congratulations.
care. Thank you, brother.
Bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye.